Hello and welcome. Doing something a bit different due to the schedule, just so we can get some videos out. We thought we'd play some Isonzo. So I'm here with Josh, who's the regular editor of the channel. Say hello, Josh.
How's it going, bud? How is it going?
Yeah, I said say hello, but that's close enough. Yeah, so we're just gonna jump in Isonzo for a bit, and maybe talk about the battles. As it is all Italian front, believe it or not.
In Isonzo? No.
Yeah. So, what do you want to do? Carso or
Dolomiti?
Yeah, Dolomiti.
Yeah, it's helping Dolomiti.
I mean, it does actually say, August. Yeah, August of 1915. Is there space in the Austrian side? No, not really.
I am on this.
Oh, right, that's all Austrian then. What do I want to play as today though? I never play engineer. You go mountaineer. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This is not one of those mistakes videos, but I'm just gonna mention Mountaineer Kaiserjäger. Kaiserjäger weren't mountaineers really. They at least before the war, Austria had six mountaineer regiments. The Tiroler Landesschützen, and of course Landwehr Infantry Regiment number 4, being Klagenfurt, who we reenact, and Landwehr Infantry Regiment number 27, which is this is actually similar to what Josh wears, corduroy uniform. But 27 is the Slovene. Was it Ljubljana it's based in?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, the Ljubljana Goobers. I'm gonna go with Salt. Oh yeah, this is also corduroy. They seem to like to use corduroy because I think it's part of the reserve unit DLC. Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah, with knee patches.
I find in this game, at least, it's probably personal opinion, but I really do think that the Austrian weapons just are better than the Italian ones.
I do love my Mantlickers. They're Island too.
Yeah,
but
it's one of those where the Kakanos and stuff are good, but I feel like they don't have the rate of fire that the Mannlichers do, and also you have stuff like the Vitelli.
Yeah,
I forget which specific Vitelli I'm talking about, but the one which has one round. I find that in game at least that's incredibly annoying.
I feel like the diversity of weapons on the Italian faction, they've got all the veterans, but I don't know, there just seems to be more to do with the Austrian stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that they balanced out the kind of poorer is the wrong word to use, but it's the one I'm going to go for. The way that they kind of balance out the poorer rifles, at least, is by giving them better kind of handling automatic weapons. So before the Madsen got patched, not too long ago, the Madsen was by far the best LMG to use because it had basically no recoil when running around it. However, since that patch, to kind of balance things up, I would say that the Villa Perosa for the Italians is probably the better one to use.
That's the one thing, the Italian faction in this game just does so much better, is that it's got the Villa Perosa, it's got the Beretta. The Austrians have the Madsen, which is probably the best one, in terms of central powered factions. But the Germans only get the MG0815 and the which is fine. It's not the best.
It's not great in game because hip firing that thing, you're not going to hit anything.
Yeah.
Getting down to the floor, that's just going to be taking ages by that point. You're probably dead. and I don't know. On paper, it has some of the better stats, but
Yeah.
it's just not the one you want, is it?
No. And then they've got the artillery Luger, which is it's fine.
But I mean, out of all the pistols, that's also not the best one. Because to be fair, the one thing I will give the Germans is, of course, I believe that they have the better pistol selection. Because you have both the Luger and the C96. The C96, by the way, in Isonzo, absolutely drops. It's like it has such a larger mag. It's quick firing. It has a lot of stopping power. It's basically just one of the best guns you could want in this game. But I mean, other than that, you know, the Austrians have some decent choices. It is the Steyr, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Steyr is in the game, which is nice. And then the Promise Stop, which I'm not gonna lie, I think is incredibly overrated in this game. I really don't think it's powerful enough. I'm sure some people out there disagree, but yeah, it's just not particularly my top choice for pistol. However, what I will say is that I feel like the Italian pistols, it's as silly as some of them are, like the Glicenti. They also have a good range of kind of revolvers.
Yeah.
Like the Bordeo, that thing is very.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah. Yeah, because we were playing this before. Me and your brother were on the Austrians, and you were on the Italians. And you were just running about with your Video.
Yeah. I mean, I lost that game, but that wasn't because of me. I was absolutely slaughtered. But yeah, I think you've got to hand it to Isonzo. I think there's nothing in it that I think is particularly unbalanced. Although, if I had to pick anything, it would be the ice pick. I think you don't really run out of stamina with it. You can just keep swinging to your heart's content. If you get in a tight space with enemies, you're just going to get through them like nothing. You know.
Yeah, when it first came out, and there was a challenge for the Mountaineer class that came with it, and just everyone was running about using the fucking ice pick.
Well, it's like a knife to hot butter. Is basically how that goes. You're just going to be getting through it like there's nothing.
If there's an Italian now, actually just running about with an ice pick.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the way that this game works is if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah. No. Well, one thing I do like about this game is definitely the kits. They've struck that perfect balance between, you know, looking cool and still being historically accurate. Like I know I said there's like issues where some if marksman class is the Kaiserschütze, which were the Tyrolean version of our regiment. Yeah. No. So something that I do enjoy about this game is that they've done the kits really well, where they're still accurate. Like there's a few blemishes, but for the most part, they're still accurate. And they look cool at the same time. Like, I know what Battlefield was getting at, but I think they just went too far in the trying to look cool direction.
Well, I think Battlefield is a tough one because, as we've already mentioned on this channel, if you haven't seen that video, please do check it out. It's like it wasn't for necessarily the reenactor. You know, it was for audiences to come to grips with like a new type of warfare that they haven't particularly seen before, and just kind of enjoy it through that. However, when talking about the kind of strange things that they added, like the typical case I like to bring up is the Italian bomber pilot helmet on the Austro-Hungarian assault class. That's particularly strange. Or support class, I think it is actually. But that is particularly odd. And Isonzo doesn't really do any of these kind of weird faux pas of just adding anything cool in. Like it'd be particularly odd to see Isonzo with someone running around with a hand grenade. As much as I like the Hell Regal in Battlefield, it's just didn't exist really.
Well, that was the one thing that I did allow them to do, because they were a bit fast and loose with history. They could, like, do goofy things essentially. I'm not.
I think like what I appreciate about Isonzo a lot, and I think it's a really kind of important thing that Battlefield did miss, was the individuality of the uniforms. Because of course it's easy to assume to somebody who doesn't understand World War One that Austrians and Germans, they are the same, whatever. But as is actually the case, they're completely different.
Yeah.
So you get, as you see in tons of photos throughout history, you see Austrians with the kind of blue uniform, which they swapped out fairly early. You see them, of course, with their film grade uniform, which is still very different to the German one. You see them with different materials. So, as I like to wear, brown cord, which is also a nice addition in the game. You have what are the kinds have you got? I can't think off the top of my head, but you have God knows how many. And it's really nice to see that kind of variation, not only within the classes, but also within like DLCs, the stuff you can unlock. We will be making an Isonzo uniform-focused video later down the line to mimic our Battlefield video, but scripting that one out is far more complicated than the Battlefield one is.
Well, I'm going through like the customization screen now, and there's like quite a lot you can really do. I actually don't have the altitude units pack, which is that one came out quite late on. I should probably do it, but I mean, even then, with what I do have, you can see there's quite a lot of variation already, which is like the uniforms that I do have. Even in the same regiment, like they're all Kaiserschütze, Gebirgsjäger, whatever. It's still the same uniform. But yeah, there's a lot of different setups that they've done, to make each skin look unique, but not inconceivable. Yeah,
and I think something that also helps that, which I think kind of it's hard to put into words, but it kind of helps the way that things look, is the actual variations of rifles that are in the game. I think it could have just been an easy choice just to give all the Austrians M95s, all the Germans Gewehr 98s, all the Italians Carcanos, but the level of different things that they have added. So of course for the Austrians you do have the M95, of course you have the M95 Stutzen, you have the repeater Gewehr. What else have we got here?
You've got the Verndl, the Schönauer.
You've got the repeater carabiner.
If you I'm going to call back to a lot of videos, because we talk about this front a lot. I just started doing a series on the Alpenkorps, for the Germans. We might play as them later. Some good games. But no, so we did a video about formation of the Alpenkorps, and when they arrived in Italy, because like the Austrians were so underprepared, there were actual Verndls being used by the troops that were still around. Trying to research Austrian stuff is actually a lot harder than you think.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the most difficult thing for me, trying to email God knows various museums, trying to look up the most niche parts of what we do.
Well, what we do know is that our unit were in Galicia at the time. So Landwehr, Landesschützen, Kaiserschützen, whatever you want to call them, they're Landwehr, so they're like is it, I guess, on the duchy level, I want to say. It's their kind of militia, essentially. Like they're not as underfunded and underarmed as people always make out, but they were like the militia at the end of the day, and they weren't actually supposed to be used outside of their home state. The Austrians actually changed this rule so that they could plug gaps in the Eastern Front, but yeah, it's trying to research it's been hard, especially when it's like a relatively small regiment, despite its impact on the war being relatively big.
So if anybody in the comments happens to know any one of these museums or anyone who knows more about this history, please let us know.
Yeah,
we are desperate. We are desperate for this information.
yeah, because the thing is, because the fighting happened in Tyrol as well, the Tyrol regiments get a lot more glory than the Klagenfurt regiment, which I think's quite a shame because, well, for one, they did fight there, obviously, but as well post-war. Again, another video callback.
Yeah.
But the plebiscite, you know, they were actually used for their intended purpose for once in the war.
Yeah.
But
well, it's interesting because it's something that I like to kind of put into perspective about our Austrian unit that we focus on. Basically being told you need to head out to southern Poland and far western Ukraine to go fight the Russians alongside the Germans.
Yeah.
And then once the Italians are, fighting against you, you have to then pull back. But then by that point, you've now kind of split because some of you are still fighting out in the Eastern Front, some of you are now fighting in the Southwestern Front. But by 1916, you have all gathered up and you're in Italy again. And then once that war is over and Caporetto's happened and everything's kind of balanced out, and I guess unfortunately for you, the Austro-Hungarian Empire has collapsed, you instantly have to go into another war against the Slovenians, who you were just fighting alongside with.
Well, it's like in 1917, we got renamed Gebirgsschützen Regiment Number 1, and the Slovenes were Gebirgsschützen Regiment Number 2. So it's like that's how interlinked those two regiments were. Because South Carinthia does have quite a Slovenian population, which is why they invaded to begin with.
So if you do want to go check out that video as well, that'll be a great one.
I mean, there were Slovenians on the Austrian side of the conflict, which is why it actually went in Austria's favour, because a lot of the ethnic Slovenes didn't actually want to be a part of Slovenia.
All right, so as we get back capped here by the Italians, we'll have to shed light on some of the battles that we go through in this video. So this one, as you see us playing now, is Piana. Quite a long battle, as we've just discovered, from about May 1915 to October 1917.
Yeah, so it pretty much started as the war started, essentially, in May.
At least for the Italians.
For the Italians.
I think, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean continuous fighting. Don't imagine some levels of fighting all at once for those 2 years. However, you can't mistake the 2,300 meters that these soldiers would have had to climb up and down the mountain to constantly reinforce themselves, kind of restabilize their lines, kind of what's the word? Kind of reinforce how much ammo and stuff that they have and everything like that.
Reinforce and resupply.
Resupply, yes. And of course, being that tired and this cold as well, you can't imagine how cold it is up at these heights.
Well, again, plugging that previous video, there are quotes from the Germans when they showed up. Like, not many of them wanted to be there because they weren't allowed to do anything. And as you say, it's a cold, high-altitude hellscape. Although nowadays you'd go... Like, this map is absolutely amazing. That's one thing they've done really well, is the maps look amazing. And you wouldn't mind going here on holiday, but going here to fight a war, probably not.
Especially over two or three winters, which were extremely cold, like unbearably cold. Of course, to the point where Italians and Austro-Hungarian soldiers were building towns inside of things like glaciers because it was the only solid kind of thing which they could actually build upon.
Well, I'm sure we could put some pictures up of them actually like digging kind of like essentially igloos near enough, where the trenches were just made of snow, but you didn't need to worry about them melting because you're that high up. It's that cold. It's like even not even just trenches, like entire dugouts in the snow.
And I think what's even crazier to a certain extent. So I'll let that pop off and go by. That was really nice. I think what's even crazier is to imagine that this isn't even near the peak of where the fighting was. You're still having battles that are another 1,000 meters above this, like in Atamela and Marmalada. Of course, Marmalada is very famous for White Friday, which is coming up to its 110th anniversary this year.
It happened on a Wednesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they could have had White Wednesday, but they didn't.
I think they didn't even know it happened until the Friday or something like that, I believe.
Again, it's one of those which we're going to have to research further.
I mean, communications in the mountains, like, entire units disappearing and just nobody finding out until a lot later is absolutely insane.
It was like thousands of lives on both sides. So there was not one particular incident where one army faced a lot of suffering. This was just a freak accident of nature, frankly. Caused probably by a sheer amount of artillery fire from both sides, just causing a major landslide of the snow falling down the mountains.
Yeah, that's something I'll need to look into. I was just looking at the webbing here. The shovel, I think there's a different pattern shovel carrier, so that must be a pre-war one. Not a shovel carrier I'm familiar with. I'm going to trust it is accurate. Like my skin, I've got the pre-war pouches, which we're going to try and source because I think they look very nice. We do a lot of airsoft, by the way, as well. You might get some more videos on that if you follow our Instagram. Pictures of our last airsoft game. Pouches like that are really good. Excuse me, are really good for airsoft magazines. But that shovel, it's got kind of like the German style 2 attachment points, so the 1 attachment point of the shovel carriers that we use at the moment. It's very interesting.
Of course, one of the great things about the kind of airsoft stuff that we do, which is aside from reenactment, is that we actually get to test the durability and, in a sense, we get a grip of how it is to, feel these uniforms in a combat scenario, shall we put it in quotes. Yeah,
well, it's like usually in other countries you do get like these massive reenactment battles, but in the UK, World War One is actually very just overlooked, which is
very niche.
Niche. Which is absolutely insane to me. We don't get the chance as much as you do in places like Newville, to do proper proper battles with blanks, as well as the difficulty to source blank fire weapons in the UK. Well, of course, for blank fire weapons, you need a real rifle, essentially. Why is he taking so long to dig this?
But
you essentially need a real rifle firing blank rounds, which is a bit tough in the UK. So airsoft is the closest thing we have at the moment, really.
Yeah, and while to kind of veteran reenactors among you, that might not sound as enticing. You've got to remember it's less pretending in a weird sense. So while in a kind of private event in reenactment, it's very immersive and it's very cool, you're not actually feeling any toughness in a sense. Whereas in an airsoft game, or in an airsoft event, shall we say, not as a regular skirmish, you're getting that sense of almost a similar level of immersion, while also having to think about your positioning in a team, and if you attack one way, are you going to get hit, and have to respawn. So it kind of gets you in the mind of how can I use my kit in a certain way to be beneficial in this attack.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Well, don't get me wrong as well. Like sometimes you can get a false impression of things, but
100%.
Something I noticed, because I've done both British and Central Power stuff. The British webbing, I can run about all day in, but there's something about the German webbing. I'm not sure if it's like the bulkiness of the leather, whereas I just feel like I need to strip it down. The entrenching tool, especially, I much prefer the British, even though as an entrenching tool, and I've dug with it. I've dug foxholes with it as well. I've got an original World War II entrenching tool that I use for that. That's something you need to keep in mind. Reproductions can actually sour your opinion on a piece of kit. Like original ones, even though it's detachable, they work fine. And you can't really strip down British kit. Like you could take your bayonet off, you can take your entrenching tool handle off, but it's all kind of one cohesive bit, and it sits nice and snugly. There's something, because you wear belts quite high up, especially back then, around your waist. So it's kind of like like how people wear chest rigs nowadays.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of a bit of a firefight here. Whereas like with the German stuff, it's all very heavy. It's very over encumbering. Like with the British stuff, you can wear your large pack, and it doesn't really over encumber you at all. Whereas with the German stuff, you can't run about all day with your Tornister, despite what one of our group members is adamant on doing. He loves wearing his Tornister. The Austrian stuff is better in that regard with their canvas backpacks. I really like wearing that. But yeah, you can see why in a lot of trench images of Germans and Austrians, they're not even wearing ammo pouches a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They are just wearing the belt. They've just got hand belt.
And especially from a reenactor's, a new reenactor standpoint, British kit seems, on the outside at least, very simple. You've got your three sets of British webbing. You've got your PO3, your PO8, and your P14. And that's pretty much it. Once you get the set, because they are more commonly sold in a full set. That's it. You don't need to really mess around with it. You don't really need to add anything to it. What you get is just what you need, basically. Whereas with German stuff, and you'll definitely agree if you're in our Discord, it is very particular, especially when going through unit to unit, state to state.
Yeah.
Seeing how different states prefer different types of webbing, different colours of webbing, different everything. They never agreed particularly what type of webbing to wear. And as Finley just raised there, with Austro-Hungarian webbing, though there is a lot of variety in the types of webbing that you can wear, and the types of pouches you can have, the types of whatever, you can kind of mix and match to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't necessarily mix and match, as I just phrased. I think if you have a good looking set of webbing, should all be all you need. But if you were in a tight spot, a very minimum amount of webbing is still very much passable for an Austrian.
Well, I mean, speaking of mix and match, this is more for the Germans. I mean, I'm not saying do this. It's only one image of someone doing it, but there's a Pioneer, I believe it was. We'll need to find the image, obviously. We can make corrections. But there's a Pioneer, and he's got one pattern of pouches on one side, and then another, like the regular pouches on the other. It's like I feel like researching German, especially if it's a non-Prussian state, it's kind of like a bell curve, right? So when you start off, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just get this, that, and the other, and just wear what I want. And then you get to the middle of the bell curve where you've done a lot more research, and you're like, oh no, everything is set out particularly. You know, there's all these orders, all these ways that they want you to do things. So it's like, oh, I'll make sure that I'm following these regulations. And then you go beyond that point. It's like, oh no, you can just wear whatever you want. It's obviously I'm being a bit facetious there. So it's not whatever you want, but especially with like Austrian, I think Austrian you can get away with near enough murder. If you watch some of our older videos, I'm wearing the 1915 infantry tunic, and I got told, oh no, that's actually incorrect for mountaineers, which is technically true. Yeah, it is incorrect for mountaineers. Yet there still seems to be pictures of people with them. Although I've bought a 1916 tunic anyway, and I do want to convert it. But although it's not common, it's just one of those things that did happen. It's
with Germans, and I can already tell me saying this, a lot of people in the comments are probably going to disagree with me, but it very much seems to be whatever you think looks better for the kit that you're doing should just be what you do. I think as long as you have plenty of evidence to support the stuff that you're wearing, then I think that should be okay.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're going off of one image, I feel like that's, taking the mick a little bit.
I think it depends. If it's like one image of the unit that you're reenacting, then it's kind of fair. But it's like when there's one image of, say, like a Saxon with a certain amount of kit, and then you're doing Fartenberg, it's like, oh yeah, I'll just copy that. It's like,
yeah,
it could just be something unique to
as long as you have the evidence to back it up, that's all that's needed in reality. So this map is very special for us as a group. This map being Sengio, one of the kind of famous battles in 1916. Famous for particularly being one of the battles that the Klagenfurt regiment that we portray took part in, being off of the back of returning fully from the Eastern Front. Basically, again, same thing, Austro-Hungarians versus Italians. I believe that there was kind of very little German involvement within this one. I could be wrong.
No, the Alpenkorps were, what was 1960? They were in Verdun at the time. Verdun, Serbia, and was Romania 16?
Yeah, Romania. Yeah. They're pretty much everywhere but here.
Yeah. They were only in Italy for a short amount of time. As we said, there was, without like a formal declaration of war, there's not much the Germans could actually do. We'll find out. We'll find out about that in the next episode of the miniseries.
So it's very nice to have a battle where our niche unit, because I think within Austro-Hungarian units, you could go with a Vienna unit, go with a Tyrol unit, as we said. Could even go with a South Tyrolean unit, but it's very kind of niche to go with a Corinthian unit, and especially a Corinthian Lander unit. But to be able to kind of pick a battle in this game, other than Caporetto, and say, yes, we were here, we were fighting this, is very nice to be able to do. Because I think Sengio is quite a recognisable name as well. So anyone who may already know the Southwestern Front, as niche as that already is, Sengio is a recognisable name.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. Well, one of the things is about researching the unit that we do. There is like well, we're going to do a video on about where we fought, but we've got a reasonable enough source. But what we're really struggling with is actually trying to find out what we actually did when they were at these places, what their role is. Were they just a reserve, or were they in the first wave? Trying to research these things is actually a lot harder than I initially thought.
Yeah.
You would have noticed on the page we've got a lot more German stuff at the moment, just because even after we went to the Bavarian Army Museum. The original was it like barracks originally?
Yeah.
Something like where they kept all the documentation was actually bombed in the Second World War, and yet they still got loads of information from World War One that we have access to. We've got sources, like people who know where to find all these things, and it's just been as confusing as it can be at times. It's actually been fairly painless to research, but when it comes to the Austrian stuff, you just can't seem to find anything. It's really hard to.
So as far as we know, before the war began, LIR-4, Land Terror Infantry, it's what it sounds like, probably was a reserve unit. But, once the war properly kicked off against the Serbians and against kind of the Western powers, everyone, as far as we know, was essentially called up to be regular soldiers, And especially later war, as LIR-4 became proper Gebirgsschützen, there was no kind of reserve name still attached to them.
Yeah,
so
like
what we're trying to find is, were LIR-4 really kind of reserves still, kind of playing that kind of back trench role, or were they still at the front along with everyone else?
Well, see what we've seen with the other Landesschützen regiments is that they weren't really used as reserve. I think as soon as they put out that order saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, you can fight outside of your home territory," they're no longer reserves. I mean, there's only 6 dedicated mountain regiments, and they were all technically reserves. So, would they have been used as reserves, or do they take on, a more? Is it the right word? Elite role? Maybe specialist. It's probably.
Yes, I would say specialist.
Yeah,
specialist. I think the main argument comes from the Landwehr. That word Landwehr, because as we've been saying, the Corinthian Landwehr were mainly just supposed to stay in Carinthia as the Corinthian Defence Force, which is what they became post-war with the plebiscite against the Slovenes. However, pretty much instantly they were shipped off to Galicia to fight the Russians, which is obviously not inside Carinthia. So,
Greater Carinthia one.
Yeah. So that really brings up the argument of, well, these guys aren't Landwehr anymore, but they're not yet Gebirgsschützen. So what are they? What do we class them as? Where do we picture them within these kind of mountain areas? And of course, while we don't want to make assumptions, we're kind of forced to, because currently we can't have that information at our disposal.
Yeah. No, it's It is very, very tricky. Even on Wikipedia, so our main source at the moment for where the LIR-4 fought is actually a war memorial in Klagenfurt that mentions all the battles. But when you go, Wikipedia is not the best source for anything, but
No.
they do have a really comprehensive order of battle for the 12th Battle of the Isonzo, Caporetto, as it's known over here, and they're just not mentioned.
Yeah.
Unless they mentioned their different name, but they didn't change their names until just after Caporetto, I believe. They became Bergschützen Regiment Number 1. the Landesschützen also became Kaiserschützen around about the same time. And that adds an extra layer of complexity when it comes to research as well. Is knowing what to actually search for. Like, are you searching for Landesschützen? Are you searching for Kaiserschützen? Are you searching for Kaiserjäger?
While I was doing a bit more research, kind of delving into that statue specifically, I kind of came across a website which I'll put on the screen now because I can't really remember the name. It came up with the date when the name was changed, and that was the 4th of April 1917.
Since the recording of this video, we have managed to do some more research after finding a few more sources, and we found that that date is actually incorrect. The correct date for the name change from Landwehr Infantry Regiment number 4 to Gebirgsschützen number 1 is actually March 19th, 1917. So we just thought we'd interject there and let you know the correct date. Enjoy the rest of the video.
And of course, Caporetto started in October. And while in the great kind of landscape of the war, the months between April and October isn't a major amount of time. I'd say it's enough time to be able to, get some kind of more information into you about what you are necessarily. But unfortunately, as we've been saying, that info isn't particularly available, other than what battles they were in, which we have a good comprehensive list from that statue, as we said, when that name changed, and a guess at the kinds of things that they were doing.
Yeah.
Which makes for very hard reenacting. But fun reenacting, because it means that anything we discover later down the line will feel brand new.
Yeah, and I think even though we've not got much information to go off of, it does actually get the name out there. And it might encourage someone who's got, better means to actually find this stuff. Or maybe someone's sitting on some sort of information that we've not been able to find, and they might actually know about. Another good thing about using YouTube, there's always someone somewhere on the internet that just knows.
Yeah,
essentially.
very much so.
Something you do see a lot is like people do use the M95, even on the Italian side, as soon as they unlock it. Oh,
it is very much probably the best rifle, I think, because its rate of fire is very high, its stopping power is very high. It's got quite small sights, but usually, at least in my case with this game, if you can get good at using small sights, probably the better player you're going to be.
Not that I've ever fired rounds through it, but in real life, just looking at the sights, like these are actually relatively open for gameplay purposes compared to the actual sights. I'll probably get a picture to put up on the screen of what the actual sight picture looks like, but they're just nice. I just like nice fine sights. Like before aperture sights really took off, that's just kind of what was the meta.
And don't get me wrong, there's also another famous sight in the rifle world, but before another one of our members said it, we both really hate the Langevisier sights.
Yeah.
They are not worth it.
No, I mean, even Paul Mauser absolutely despises it. He's like, mate, I've designed you a sight. Like,
it's one of those where even in gameplay purposes or in real life purposes, it's just one of those where when you compare the two rifles, the Gewehr 98 is almost perfect. But it's just those sights really ruin it.
Well,
it blocks your line of it blocks any viewing on either side. They're just too large to it's ridiculous, frankly.
The thing is as well, it's like, I wouldn't say they're like delicate, but they can just be a bit, I guess, temperamental. I mean, You're not going to be shooting out like 1.5 kilometers or however long they go out to. So I've got one right next to me. I'll have a look.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, what range do they start at?
Well, they start at 400 meters, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then they go all the way out to 2 kilometers. Now, getting it like the first bit of the way on my one is all right, but it doesn't go all the way out. And then on James's very nice 1910 example, the running tracks are actually a bit bent and there's actually a crack in it, which is just not what you want. I know, like, yeah, that one's 116 years old, but I feel like war would definitely age a rifle quickly. And if you just maybe trip over and land on it wrong, again, I know in World War One, like, the average engagement distance is like fucking 3 meters, and you can touch the enemy over the trench line. But just for sights in general, it's just not what you want. It's like if that's your excuse, or you know, you don't need to actually range out your sights because all the fighting's up close, then why do you need such an overcomplicated sight to begin with? I think the ladder sight on the M95 it's just all you really need.
Yeah.
They're cheap, easy to make, they're uncomplicated. They don't get damaged easy because, I mean, they're not very complicated whatsoever. So, why the Langevisier exists and why it's so complicated, I don't know. Let me get my M95 out. Where does this one start at? So it's a flip-up ladder sight. So it's not a tangent sight. The same way. Yeah, it's base zero is 500 meters, which I think is a bit ridiculous for a base zero. But at least you don't really need to like flip it or anything. I have a feeling. I feel like there's no way they would have been zeroed out to 500 meters all the time, because you'd be like aiming really low when you're hitting someone. I mean, in real life, all I've really fired is the SA-80. And you when you're firing at 100 and 200 meters, you're aiming below the target. I mean, that might be better considering how fine the sights are. You can actually still see the target because you're like aiming at his legs and it'll hit him in the chest. But I don't know. Enough about sights. There's only so much you can really say other than the language of the air is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So when I like having a rifle. I mean, I own enough of them, but that's a lie. There's never enough. But yeah, I like having a rifle, but sometimes when you portray an NCO, you do see NCOs with pistols, and sometimes when you're at an event, not having to worry about carrying your rifle about, it's kind of nice. Maybe I'll give myself a promotion at some point to sergeant, and it would just be a pistol most of the time anyway. But no, I do like the option to have either or.
Well, I mean, it's part of the kind of wacky Austrian variety again. It's kind of like, yeah. Of course, you still have your standard kind of thing of like, you know, a sergeant and higher will have certain weapons that he prefer to use. But again, we see hundreds of images of Austro-Hungarians just kind of doing whatever the hell they want. Like, as silly as it sounds, and kind of unprofessional as it sounds, like the sheer amount of images of Austro-Hungarians having some different kind of variety of either weaponry or webbing, as we've mentioned before, it kind of boggles the mind at if they even had standards at all.
My
We know that they did, but it really doesn't feel like they do.
my thing when it comes to like senior NCOs and officers, and you've kind of just got a pistol, there's not much interesting that you can actually do with the kit other than having like a strange obscure pistol, especially for officers because they were private purchase a lot of the time, the pistols. Really, you kind of you might have like binoculars, you might have a map case maybe, but there's not much interesting you can do with the weapon. With the uniform, like I mean, if you've seen my my German tunic, there's quite a bit you can do there, to be fair, to make it interesting. But in terms of webbing, it's light and easy. The last event we did, Huff Battery in the UK, I went for a pistol. I wasn't. Oh, it was a busy week for me, so I wasn't expecting to be able to get all my stuff. But I lent my rifles out to other members of the group, and I was just using the C96 for the day, and it was nice and light, nice and good to move around. But
we'll throw some photos out from the event.
Yeah, and oh, that's it. Just trying to kill some Italians. Yeah, it can just look cool having a pistol. Just not how I roll.
You have the option. Sure, it looks cool, but it's more be more practical for the group over what looks cool necessarily. Because while we all love how cool something might look, it might either be wrong or just kind of outright ridiculous to have.
Yeah. So, as I said, this was just like a quick video to just to plug some gaps while I'm going to be busy. If you enjoyed it, we'll do more of it. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a comment if you had anything to add to what we were discussing. We'll be attending a few events this year. The main one being Yorkshire Wartime and No Man's Land are our two main focuses for this year. So hopefully we'll see you there. Be sure to follow us on Instagram. We do post quite a lot on there. Most of our event pictures. We've got Facebook too, which we kind of neglect, but
yeah,
if that's your social media of choice, we do respond to DMs and all that. And yeah, I think that's quite fun. I do like this game. I enjoy playing it quite a bit. Have you got anything to add before we?
Basically, just if anyone watching in the comments or kind of DMs who knows how to get into contact with anyone who would know more info about the Austro-Hungarians, please let us know, because we are fascinated by the Austro-Hungarians, but we are desperate to find more info about them.
Yeah.
As well, check out our other videos that we've referenced. They should be just on our channel. If not, we'll put a link in the description. I think that's about it.
Yeah. No. So yeah, as I said, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.